Romeo and Juliet, a tragic tale of love. In the bustling city of Verona, two noble families, the Montagues and the Capulets, lived in unending enmity. Their feud had lasted so long that its origins were forgotten, but its consequences were evident in the bloodshed and turmoil that plagued the streets. This story unfolds the tragic tale of two star-crossed lovers whose bond would defy hatred, but come at a devastating cost. A fateful encounter. Romeo Montague was a young man filled with poetic longing, nursing an unreturned love for a woman named Rosalind. His cousin Benvolio, ever practical, encouraged him to forget Rosalind and look elsewhere. When Romeo's lively friend, Mercutio, suggested crashing a grand Capulet masquerade ball, Romeo reluctantly agreed, hoping for distraction. At the Capulet mansion, Juliet, the radiant daughter of Lord Capulet, prepared for her first public appearance as a young woman of marriageable age. She was dutiful, kind, and only beginning to understand the pressures of her family's expectations, particularly her father's desire for her to marry Paris, a wealthy suitor. As Romeo wandered through the ball in disguise, his eyes fell upon Juliet, and time seemed to stop. Juliet noticed him, too, and they shared a brief but enchanting conversation. Without knowing each other's identities, they felt an immediate and profound connection. But their joy turned to despair when Juliet's nurse revealed that Romeo was a Montague, and Romeo learned Juliet was a Capulet. The balcony scene. Despite the dangers, Romeo could not stay away. That same night, he crept into the Capulet orchard and found Juliet standing on her balcony, speaking to herself about her newfound love. "O Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name," she pleaded, wishing their love were free of the chains of family hatred. Hearing her heartfelt words, Romeo revealed himself, and the two confessed their love for one another. They promised to marry in secret, their young hearts filled with hope and determination. A secret union. The next morning, Romeo sought out Friar Lawrence, a wise and compassionate priest, who reluctantly agreed to marry the young couple. He believed their union might bring peace to Verona. Juliet's nurse, a trusted confidant, acted as a messenger, arranging the details of their secret wedding. In a quiet chapel, Romeo and Juliet exchanged vows, dreaming of a future together. Their love, though pure, was now entangled in a web of secrecy and danger. Tragedy strikes. Shortly after the wedding, Tybalt, Juliet's fiery cousin, confronted Romeo, still unaware of the marriage. Tybalt, angered by Romeo's presence at the ball, challenged him to a duel. Romeo, now bound to Tybalt by marriage, refused to fight. Mercutio, always quick-tempered, stepped in and dueled Tybalt instead. The fight ended in tragedy when Tybalt fatally wounded Mercutio. Overcome with rage and guilt, Romeo fought Tybalt and killed him. Realizing the gravity of his actions, Romeo fled as the Prince of Verona arrived and declared Romeo banished from the city. When Juliet learned of Tybalt's death and Romeo's banishment, her heart broke. She mourned her cousin, but remained steadfast in her love for Romeo. Friar Lawrence devised a plan for them to reunite. He urged Romeo to flee to Mantua while they waited for the prince's anger to subside. The plan and the potion. Meanwhile, Juliet faced mounting pressure to marry Paris. Desperate, she turned to Friar Lawrence for help. He gave her a potion that would make her appear dead for 42 hours. The plan was for her family to believe she had died, and Romeo would retrieve her from the Capulet tomb once she awoke. On the eve of her wedding to Paris, Juliet drank the potion. Her family discovered her lifeless body the next morning, and a grand funeral was arranged. Miscommunication and catastrophe. Friar Lawrence sent a messenger to Mantua to inform Romeo of the plan, but the letter never reached him. Instead, Romeo learned of Juliet's death through a friend and was devastated. Believing Juliet to be truly gone, he purchased poison and returned to Verona, determined to die by her side. At the Capulet tomb, Romeo encountered Paris, who had come to mourn Juliet. They fought, and Romeo killed Paris in the skirmish. He then entered the tomb, gazed upon Juliet's lifeless form, and drank the poison. Moments later, Juliet awoke to find Romeo dead beside her. Overcome with grief, she took Romeo's dagger and ended her life. A heartbreaking resolution. The tragic deaths of Romeo and Juliet shocked their families. Lord Montague and Lord Capulet, realizing the futility of their hatred, agreed to end their feud. A golden statue was erected in Verona to honor the young lovers, whose story became a timeless symbol of love and sacrifice. Thus ends the tale of Romeo and Juliet, a poignant reminder of the power of love and the devastating consequences of hatred.